Positioning is one of the most important skills for an ADC, but it's also one of the least understood. People often reduce it to stand behind your team or stay in the back line, but that misses the bigger picture. Good positioning is about putting yourself in the strongest spot with minimal risk. It's not static, it changes depending on a fight, the champions in it, and the cooldowns available. One of the simplest but most useful ways to think about positioning is in terms of threat ranges. Every champion on the enemy team has a maximum area where they can realistically punish you. This isn't just their auto-attack range or ability range, it's that plus any mobility spells like dashes or flash. If you imagine the map as overlapping circles of danger, your goal is to stay outside the ones that matter most to your survival until the right moment to step in. For example, Syndra with the E and R ready is dangerous from far further than her base Q range, because her stun can catch you as you try to reposition. Another key part of threat range is cooldown tracking. If an engage ability with a long cooldown is gone, like Malphite ultimate or Nautilus Q, that changes how much space you can safely take. You are not playing more aggressive for no reason, you are responding to reduced threat. This is why positioning is constantly shifting during a fight. As spells are used, danger zones shrink or expand. The best ADCs are just in real time, going forward when space opens and stepping back when new threats come online. Different ADCs function in different ways. Understanding your champion's role in a fight will make it much clearer where you should stand and when you should move. For example, poke ADCs like Ashe, Jhin, Varus. These champions influence fights before they even start. Your damage often comes in the form of high-impact spells or single autos that set up kills. Your ideal spot is behind your front line, looking for angles to land slows, roots or bursts of poke damage. Because you have tools to punish enemies trying to run at you, you can hold a position slightly closer to the front line compared to other immobile ADCs, but still with an escape route in mind. Your goal is to poke enemies or force key defensive cooldowns before the main fight even begins. Mobile ADCs like Lucian, Ezreal, Kai'Sa give you more flexibility, but doesn't remove the need for awareness. Your dashes and blinks allow you to take positions that other ADCs couldn't safely hold, but that only works if you manage those abilities carefully. You can also mirror the movement of divers and assassins in your team, following their engages to add your own burst. The risk is spending your mobility aggressively without a plan for escape. Lucian, who uses E forward when an enemy engage is still available, is essentially playing as if he is immobile. The advantage comes from holding your mobility until you see the enemy commit to an action you can dodge or punish. Hypercarries like Kog'Maw, Sivir, Zeri are at their best when they can stand and deliver damage over time, but they lack tools to start fights or quickly escape dangerous situations. Your best fights are the ones where your frontline engages first and soaks the enemy's main threats. You want to delay stepping forward until you are confident that the most dangerous abilities have been used. Vision is also critical. These champions suffer heavily from surprise engages, so fighting in blind areas is almost always a losing trade. The main difference between surviving and dying often comes down to patience. You might spend the first 2 or 3 seconds of a fight holding position behind your team, but once the threats are gone, you can step forward and turn the fight completely. But no matter what type of champion you play, you can make similar mistakes, so let's talk about them. One of the easiest ways to throw a fight is walking too far forward for just one more auto or spell. That min-maxing often puts you inside multiple enemy threat ranges. Instead, you want to think about whether that hit is worth the risk and position yourself closer to your team. Holding your ground and waiting for a safer opening will lead to more damage overall, because you will stay alive to keep fighting. Another common trap is locking onto the first enemy you can hit and refusing to swap even when a much higher priority target appears in range. If you keep outing a tank while the enemy ADC is suddenly in your face, you're not using your position to its full potential. A better mindset is to always be aware of who is entering your damage zone and adjust your focus accordingly, switching to the more dangerous threat the moment they step in your range. Last but not least, standing still while attacking. Maximizing attack speed uptime is important, but standing still turns you into a training dummy. It's much better to weave in movement, even if that means delaying an out by a fraction of a second, so you can dodge critical abilities. Think of it as trading a tiny drop in DPS for the chance to avoid something that would kill you instantly. Positioning isn't just about the fight in front of you, it's about preparing how the fight will actually play out, based on the champions and the tools each side has. For example, versus heavy dive compositions like Camille, Nocturne, Renga, your best bet is to avoid giving them a clean engage in the first place. Stay out of vision until they commit somewhere else, then reposition where you can auto safely. In these games, defensive spacing is your main focus. Against poke-heavy teams like Ziggs, Xerath, Jace, playing too far back means you will just get chipped down without contributing. Here you want to use terrain and vision control for ambushes, or step up between their big cooldowns, get your damage in, and retreat before the next wave of poke lands. With strong pillars like Janna, Lulu, Thresh, you can afford to play a little closer to the fight, using your body as bait to draw in enemies. The peel your allies provide, combined with defensive summoners, means you can take a slightly more space and punish overcommits. When your team lacks peel, this is where your positioning becomes almost entirely about avoiding angles rather than taking them. Items also influence how aggressively you can stand. If you're holding tools like Shield Bow or Guardian Angel, you can edge further forward to bait enemies on you. If you've gone for pure damage without much survivability, you need to respect every possible engage range and rely more on team spacing than on personal outplays. The goal is to understand not just where you should be, but why that spot makes sense in this particular game. Positioning done well is a combination of reading the map, respecting enemy tools, and using your own resources, both champions and items, to create safer windows to deal damage. The better you get at adjusting your position based on those factors, the more consistent your performances will be. And if you want some more tips on how to get better at League, here's my video on 10 useful habits you should learn. It's definitely worth your time. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you enjoyed the video. Bye!